Oh man, I have to redo this because for some stupid reason it automatically turns the microphone off when you open this program, and I didn't realize that. So
63 things that you didn't realize were autistic traits. How many of them apply to you?
probably a fair chunk, but we'll see. I might break this into several parts because I'm probably going to go on some tangents here.
Hi everyone, Paul Mikulev here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So it's pretty hard to pin down exactly what autism is, but if you get a group of autistic people in a room together, then suddenly there are certain patterns that tend to emerge. So you ask the room a question that sounds kind of innocuous, something like, who likes socks? And suddenly you'll get a slew of very enthusiastic answers in either the affirmative or the negative to otherwise fairly basic questions. So I've compiled a possibly over-the-top list of 63 things you didn't realize were autistic traits. Let's get stuck into it and we'll see how many apply to you.
I know I'm going to stop on number 2.
So in no particular order, always wearing bright colors.
See, I could care less. This is kind of a bright color, but I could care less. I just wear whatever the heck I feel like. I'm not trying to impress people because as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to like me anyway. So what's the point? And I just think that caring about fashion and crap and stuff like that, a lot of things in our world are stupid and overrated, and people need to get over themselves with regards to it. Like, I'm sorry, if someone wears white to a wedding and it's not completely out of malice, why do you care? Like, I can understand if you're trying to upstage people, that's malice. But if you just honestly are oblivious and people give you a hard time for it, why do you care? Get a life. Find something better to do with your time.
Hating phone calls.
Oh, yeah. And see, this is what bothers me is a lot of people I try to talk to just have to talk on the phone. And it doesn't matter how many times I tell them, I don't like talking like this. I don't like talking like this. I want to text. They just don't do it. And then they act like I'm putting them out, but then they don't reply to my text messages. It's like, well, you're putting me out at that point because it takes how long to send a text? Turn on. I'm going to actually do it. Let's see. I'm going to send a text message to myself. So it might take a second to find it. I'll just say, put dispenser here. Wow, that was really long. If you really care about someone, that's way too much time to donate to giving them some attention, right? As if. Like you wouldn't spend 10 times as long on a phone call. And look, I'm not saying I don't ever want to talk in person. I just prefer to hang out. So stop ghosting my text messages. This is a problem that people on the spectrum have as well. A lot of people are terrible at replying, and it just is a major turnoff because it's like, at this point, why am I even continuing to engage you? You know, if bare minimum stuff is too much for you, clearly you don't care. So I'm going to move on to someone else who actually makes me feel like I mean something. And so far, I've had no luck, unfortunately.
Not realizing you're hungry or thirsty.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. Like, I feel like I'm always thirsty, but I don't really realize it until I drink water. I'm like, oh, wow, I really needed that.
Not replying to a text message.
I literally just said this. And see, well, I'm bad at this now myself, but it's mostly a learned behavior because other people suck. And I'm like, well, I used to be really good. I used to reply immediately. And then I realized people just don't reply. Sometimes for a long time, sometimes ever. So I'm sitting here, why am I wasting my time and prioritizing you if you don't treat me like I matter? Maybe do better. And I'm sorry, this is something that I think a lot of people do need to work on. Look, I can understand it's not easy, but if you care about people, you got to actually show it to them somehow. You can't just leave them on red constantly and expect, yeah, that's fine. No, it isn't. Okay? It's, again, I've had to drop so many people and had to leave so many groups because of the same thing. If I put stuff out there, people ignore me, and then they get mad and make excuses when I say, hey, you're not making me feel like I matter here. No, that's not the appropriate response. I'm sorry. The appropriate response is, I'm sorry, I'll try to do better. Or at least acknowledge that that my feelings are valid. Stop trying to make excuses that are clearly BS. Like, it's like, a lot of the excuses that people make, both on the spectrum and off, is, oh, well, people are busy, they can't reply. I'm not expecting everyone to reply when I post a group message. I'm expecting one or two, though, especially if you reply to other people. It's only fair. So what's your excuse of wholesale ignoring me, sometimes in groups of 100 or more? You don't have one. And then you reply to other people immediately, so clearly you're not busy, you just don't want to talk to me. And you'd rather try to blame me and gaslight me into thinking I'm wrong, and to actually acknowledging that, yeah, you need to do better. Kind of a tangent, but that is a problem I've had with autism Discord groups, and it's kind of why I don't really like I kind of am not part of any of them anymore, because it's just the same thing over, and it's like, look, I'm looking for people who do better. You're not doing better. Bye-bye.
But thinking about it for a week until eventually deciding that it's kind of probably too late to reply anyway.
Okay, I kind of cut that off, but just reply. I'm sorry. It's better to say something and come off as busy than not say anything. So one of them's workable. The other is just rude and insulting. And if you make me feel that way, I'm just going to stop trying. And I'm going to wait and see if you reach out. And usually people don't. So then there goes that relationship. So if you want to be alone and you don't want to have anyone in your life, keep doing that. But you might want to actually put yourself out a little bit and not do that if you want people in your life. Just a thought, people.
Hating wearing socks or just seams in clothing in general.
Yeah, I don't like socks. I don't like tags on my shirts either. I always rip them off. I like the ones where they just print it in the back nowadays, because it's like, now that I'm thinking about it, this one doesn't have the tag, and I'm like, oh crap, why do I have to even think about that? Because now I'm going to be thinking about that all day. But it's like, I like the ones where they just print it on the freaking clothing and not bother with the tags.
Having an atypical sense of humor.
Yeah, like, this is going to sound bad, but that guy, that bad, okay, I don't know how to say this without coming off as bad. Like, Moon Man? If you don't, you're probably better off for it, but he's an extremely racist rapper that the alt-right uses, and it's just N-bombs left and right, but I can't help but think it's the most hilarious thing ever. Not because I agree with it, or I think the people who do agree with it are good. I just think it's so ridiculously over the top that I can't help but laugh at the sheer audacity of it. Like, oh my God, this is so terrible. And yet I find it funny. I don't know. Also, like Drew Pickles videos, I've noticed a lot of people in the Speakonia community probably are on the spectrum or something, or otherwise disabled. Just like by observing, I've noticed that. It's like people find the idea of Drew Pickles going to a certain place and going, hail, hail, him, with random people swell. I think they also like the idea of him not dealing with waiting in lines, because I always hated waiting in lines growing up. And I think that's probably something they do too. And I can deal with it now with a cell phone, but if I didn't have a cell phone, I'd still hate it just as much. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. Maybe it's just anger with the way the world is and cathartic release too. But again, we find it funny. We find repetitive noise like bag that was swell, and then I will go and I will find Dick the Clown, and we will go a lot of people around me hate that, but I find it hilarious, and I can listen to it listing random people who are supposedly members of the Barney Bunch too. Oh man, how do we get to the Barney Bunch?